So Dustborn might be the worst game ever made. And I think it's pretty clear, right, for everyone looking at this game, that the devs probably have some issues, right? And that is an understatement, okay? I have some intel now that the game director is just lewd, okay? And of course it's all allegedly, because this is some serious allegation. Allegedly, this thing here is written by the game director of Dustborn, and this text here is straight up incredibly racist against white people and also Asian people. And this thing is going viral right now. However, I've been going into the details of this thing, and I started it even worse. Now, remember how Dustborn started a song saying that you will go extinct, right? Allegedly, here it comes then, and this is crazy, seriously. This is crazy, and this is why I keep saying allegedly to, because this is really, really crazy. The game director has said that he wants people to drown white male babies. Drown babies because they have a certain skin color. This guy is like pro-genocide. If it's true, of course. If I keep saying allegedly, because this has gone so crazy now that we have gone from, oh, this is a terrible vote game. Oh, it's being paid by tax money. Oh, no, this guy actually wants to kill what? Yeah, like, and seriously. Now, this claim might not be true, but I know people that have worked with this person at Fancom and so on, and they're telling me that this is true. And furthermore, right, this guy was writing some incredibly racist stuff back in 2015, right? This was before Trump won. So with basic intelligence, you can probably figure out that this guy is probably way more deranged now after Trump won, of course. So let's talk about it. Because this guy wants to drown babies? Every YouTuber says this thing. But I hope you guys subscribe and press the like button, because I'm actually working on another video about their next game. So not Dustborn, but that Red Thread Games, so to speak, right? And I was planning to work on that game today. Originally, I had planned to work on that video today, but I feel I need to address this whole game dirty text here, because not necessarily about the baby thing, coming to that later, which is really deranged, so that's gonna be interesting. But I'm just really tired, right? I was saying it for years. I'm really tired of this racism, and I mean real, genuine racism against Asian people, right? You know, particularly, of course, Chinese, Japanese, and Koreans, right? And I made a video a few months ago about the whole white adjacency, right? And this post here by the game director is very racist toward Chinese people. She's straight up. He's like, oh, this woman, she's Chinese, so she's white, right? And that's why, honestly, I want to make this video, because this has been an issue for years, right? And his post is actually from 2015. So almost 10 years ago did he write this post, which is clearly racism towards Chinese people, right? So this here then said to be a comment by the game director. I want to first stress this might be fake, right? It's easy to, you know, take someone's account, pretend to be them, right? It's not the same thing as his interviews. He has done interviews, right, where you can very much see this is him and they can't really be faked easily. That being said, though, and I keep saying allegedly, and honestly, the reason I do it mostly is, like I said earlier in my intro, is because allegedly this guy is pro killing babies. So that's like a really weird way to say something, right? That is just so insane. And reading his comment, if I still man his argument, it is slightly better. He's like, well, they are drowning babies right now in Norway, girl babies, so we should drown boy babies or something to get back at them. That's basically what he's saying, if I have to be really, you know, giving him the benefit of the doubt. But that being said, I think this is true, and because, like I said in my previous video, Norwegian game industry is very, very tiny. Everyone has basically worked at Funcom, which is like the only big game company in Norway. Which, for example, Sweden has a lot of big game companies. Sweden has at least 10 times the jobs that Norway has, but it's only twice as big, right? So Sweden has a much higher frequency of game companies that Norway has, and also more Denmark and so on, for example. So Norway is very, very tiny, and basically everyone knows this guy, okay? I know several people that know him very well, and everyone is telling me he's a deranged, super far Marxist leftist communist guy, right? And given this game, given his interviews, that seems to be true. And like I said earlier in my intro as well, right, he's writing this comment here in 15. I would genuinely, from any, basic psychology, one-to-one psych thing, right, he was incredibly, basically racist in 15. Do you think he has changed since Trump won? Of course not. Like I said earlier, right, this guy is like the perfect example of Trump derangement syndrome. But he had it even before Trump won. You know what I mean? Like, he had it massively before he won. Of course, he's worse now, obviously. That is very basic understanding of reality. And he is, in interviews, he has said that he made Dustborn to F off Trump. He said that he made Dustborn to be like, haha, I hate Trump kind of thing. He wasted tax money to make that game because he hates Trump. But I think it's important still to understand the context of this comment here is before Trump won, right? I keep saying it. And I think it's important, right? Because, again, this guy was cray-cray before Trump won, right? So, because I think a lot of people are going to blame it on, current politics and this isn't happening, whatever. But no. This guy has clearly been cray-cray for years, right? You know what I mean? Or at least, next, almost Joker now. Yeah, one accident away from turning into the Joker. But anyway, that's the background context to it. And I have no problem believing that he said the baby thing, because it perfectly fits his personality and all things that, right? It is worse than this thing. As we see here now, in this text here, the context is that people have asked him, right, why are basically all the bad guys in his games are, white evil men, right? And all the competent characters are, of course, strong, queer, gay people, not white or whatever, right? And of course he then goes rampant at them, he goes angry, he's calling them names, he's saying that, oh, this is enough of steam, and he keeps going here, right? And he's really condescending about white people, and this just keeps going, okay? He keeps going, he's like super anti-white people. But what I want to point out here primarily is that he's actually very racist toward Chinese people, right? And that's why I think this is so funny now, honestly, this post coming up from the director of Dustborn, because, of course, remember what monkey currently is jumping on the grave, right? This, to me, honestly, feels like sort of incredible poetic justice, right? So, 9 years ago, the game director of Dustborn is complaining that, oh, there's too many white people, and also Chinese people, and he keeps saying that Chinese people are just white people, right? He's doing that classic white adjacency, and he's saying that he wants less white people and less Chinese people and generally Asian people. And then, of course, 9 years later, Black Myth Wukong and Dustborn are released on the same time. Now, Dustborn has like 50 copies sold, and Black Myth Wukong is like 10 millions. And this guy is like, damn those inclusive, damn those racism, right? Yeah. It is hilariously poetic. It's karma, baby, right? Because that guy is the Dustborn Game Director, and I say this I want to be very clear here. He's a racist towards Chinese people. So it is truly perfect poetic justice that he gets owned, right, by a Chinese company. It is poetic it's beautiful. It's beautiful. But again, though, I want to address this point here. I have made an hour video about this in the past, but I've been tired, I guess it's for years, right, that I have a huge issue with the far left in mostly America, but also Europe and so on, how they are usually the most racist of them all, right? They're racist against Arabic people. If you see with One Piece, they're racist against everyone, but they tend to be incredibly racist towards, of course, then Chinese, Korean, and Japanese, right? And of course, the reason why is because they see them as too white, right? And what they actually mean when they say too white, they mean culturally, okay? They mean culturally. They don't mean that, that they look white. They don't mean that this white woman and the Chinese woman look the same. No, they hate that these two females have a generally similar culture. This here is a culture map, and this is actually a very good map to understand the reality of, and I really recommend people studying this map, because it explains a lot of how, reality history is, right? But what you can basically see here is that Scandinavian countries are obviously very close to each other in both X and Y metrics. However, they're also very close to in the Y metric of East Asia, like Japan, Hong Kong, China, Macau, which is so on, Mongolia, right? They're actually kind of in the same height. South Korea, so I can say South Korea and Sweden, almost the exact same Y value, right? Now, of course, they are different in the X value, but basically, what I usually say is that Scandinavia is like 50% of East Asia. These are very, very similar countries, right? So, of course, when this guy is all racist towards Chinese people and generally East Asian, it's because for him, right, he hates East Asian people because they remind him of Norwegians, right? Because they actually do have a very similar culture. In 50% of the aspect of China and Norway is the same culture, given this data here. So let's go into the baby stuff now then. And like I said earlier, this is obviously very allegedly, because this is almost like saying that someone's a pedophile, you know what I mean? It's a very, very harsh allegation saying he's pro this thing. And to be fair, I don't think that the game director is going around like drowning babies, right? To be ridiculous, I don't think he does that. However, I don't think he's actually against it, right? So it is a very classic thing where someone that is so deranged, either left or right, and I want to be very specific here, someone that is extremely right-leaning, but also have crazy ideas, right? And I am a strong believer in the horseshoe theory, that if you go furthest out, left or right, you eventually end up, in the same place, right? Basically, you're very, very extreme, and a lot of people tend to actually flip-flop between being extreme left and extreme right. There's a lot of people, right, that start out extreme right, and then they go to extreme left, or vice versa. So that wouldn't surprise me at all with this guy. But basically, right, he has written this very long comment that I keep saying, I've tried to give him the benefit of doubt here, right? But he's basically saying that we should he wants to, I will keep. The context is that he doesn't want to have any more male people in his games, right? The context is that when he's asked, why are there no more, white males in your games, he's just like, I will never put a white male in my game again. I hope that white male all go extinct. I hope that white males will be drowned, basically. That's kind of what he's saying. You're like, okay, that's kind of crazy. And the way he phrased it is that he's like, we should do this against white male babies as they're doing against female white babies. And that's also where that's why he said, oh. I'm sorry, this is so stupid. This is just so stupid. Why am I sitting here being like, oh yeah, this game director is trying to drown babies? No, but I mean seriously. Even if you ignore his being crazy, it's also so dumb, right? So, as I said earlier, I am from Sweden and Norway, and this guy obviously has the most biggest white guild ever, right? I want to be very clear here, right? The Dustborn Game Director is straight up racist towards white people. And think about that. He is living purely on tax money paid by mostly then white males in Norway. And as everyone knows, Norway is the north of the northest countries in Europe. It's the most north place. Of course, most people are going to have a similar skin color. So it's like Japan is an island in the Far East, right? So my dad lives around here, and he's been working his whole life in Norway to pay for this guy's game company that hates on him. My dad spent his whole life paying millions of kroners in taxes. It is sick when you think about it, that this guy can only have a game company. He can only make this game because he's living purely on, white people's tax money, right? Because most people, it's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, let's go on. But basically, he really, really hates white people, right? And in the further context, he's then describing that, he hopes that people basically will have less white babies, right? It's nothing new at all. We have seen people say, you know, you just don't sleep with white men or whatever, right? Don't have white babies or so on. It's kind of like that. But I also think it's just so silly because his argument, at best, if I steal his argument, right, is that people are currently drowning white girl babies then in Norway. I'm pretty sure I would have heard about that. I have never heard a single case of that happening at all. And he basically writes like, oh yeah, but we have to do the same thing back at them or something. And I'm just laughing because it's just so ridiculous, right? It's no evidence whatsoever. And he makes a bunch of other claims like, oh, you know, we have paid men more, we should pay women more, so on and so forth, right? So at best case scenario, he's basically like saying that because we have been against women, you know, historically speaking, right, we should now then suppress men instead, right? He's basically saying that because women didn't have any voting rights, you know, now men should lose their voting rights. It's stuff like that he's writing, right, allegedly. But of course it makes no sense, right? And you're never gonna fix society for that matter by, of course, going back and forth, right? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, if you actually implement what he wants, right, then we start like killing off male babies. I mean, because what he wants, I suppose what he's hinting to is kind of like some countries in the past, right? Usually you would only have a male child instead of having, you know, a girl if you had the option, because you had to pay a dowry and so on, right, for your girl. So you would end up with a lot of families only having male babies. That is true, historically speaking, and still happening in some countries, I suppose. But his solution then is if we do the exact same thing, just reverse it. But then, you know, then all the males we get angry, right? And then we go 500 years in the future, and now some other guy is saying that, oh, they've been killing men for 300, 400, 500 years. We should be killing them instead. You know what I mean? It truly is kind of like an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. That's like the best case scenario he's saying. That we should punish all male and all white people equally much, so it's all terrible, so everyone is blind. So, I mean, best case scenario, he creates a full world of blindness, which is terrible. And that's why I want to bring it up too, because, man, that guy is really stupid. That is stupid, man. That is really, really dumb, right? It is truly a terrible idea, and no one absolutely should not follow this guy like this. At worst case scenario, though, he actually just wants to kill all white people. And I want to explain how American culture is actually very strong in Norway. So, of course, American culture is a big winner, right? Everyone knows American celebrities, Hollywood, you know, TV shows, whatever, music. America is by far the most popular culture on the planet, right? Other countries doing well is like Japan, right? Japan does anime, waifus, no, but Japan does fairly well as well, right? And I guess Scandinavia does actually pretty good for being a small country. Norway, Sweden, and so on, pretty recognizable people, right? But America affects every country on the planet, more or less, right? And to different, you know. Now then, Norway, in particular, is very, very American infused. Rest Scandinavia is also very close to America in culture. I mean, TV shows, movies, so on, but nothing like Norway. I think one reason why is probably because we don't dub anything. When I was a kid, I used to watch Friends on Norske 2, and that was just like, you know, in Norwegian. There was Norwegian text, of course, but there was English, you know, voicing. A lot of the children's shows when I was a kid was just in English and so on. That already, I think, makes us closer to America than, for example, other countries like Germany and France, where they would dub the stuff, right? But Norway in particular are huge on American stuff. My best friend growing up, he would buy Coca-Colas all the time. His dad has a monster truck. He has an American flag on his car. Like, seriously, people in Scandinavia generally loves America, loves the USA. We have, you know, the classic people, the raggare, in the loves, they love like hillbillies and rockabilly and so on, and yeah, the rednecks basically. There's a lot of this stuff, right? So America is very strong again in Scandinavia in general, but especially then Norway. Norway actually is only about 100 years old. It used to be part of a union with Sweden before that, and before Sweden, Denmark, of course. in Norway, it is a huge thing to be patriotic. Norwegians are much more into like their national day. They're much more into their own flag and so on. I mean, compared to Sweden, particularly, celebrating with your flag and so on is a much bigger thing in Norway. So I think that Norwegians are just like a lot more patriotic than Swedes are, particularly, but also more than Danish people and Finnish people. So that I think also is a reason why Norway or like the Norwegian people like America, right? Because they are much more patriotic. So I think they have that similarity going. Basically, this is like a summary of Norway and why I think Norway likes America. But really, America is really louder than Norway. I don't think there's any other country in Europe, probably even on the whole planet, that's as into America as Norway. So I just want to give a little bit of explanation, right, why this guy cares so much for. Of course, this leads to, and this is very clear if you look at the actual local news sites and papers so on, right, in Norway, is that they write about the election in America more than they write about their own election. Yeah, they are incredibly focused on, of course, the Trump election, right? So back in 1516, I would say easily that VG and so on wrote more about Trump than they wrote about the actual Norwegian election stuff. And because the Norwegian people in general are so into America, and most of people I know from Norway love to travel to America too, on like vacation trips. Yeah, I feel like almost everyone I know in Norway has been at least once to America. It's a very popular trip. I personally was in Orlando very recently, but I go for work though, so it's different. I get paid to go there. I go it easier, but basically it's a very common thing to go there. And I love America. I love America. I love America. So I'm also part of it. I love America. I love me some America. So I'm part of it, right? But my general point, of course, is that this guy, it might sound really strange why some Norwegian white soy boys are so into America, but what you don't understand, I would say, is that America for Norway is the close country for them. Like Norwegian people, they are so into America, American culture, music, all of that, food, and they travel so much to America and have a lot of money too, so they can travel a lot. They can buy stuff, and they like to buy the big American car, Teslas or mouse trucks. So they're so into America, so they feel the part of America, right? And they will absolutely, genuinely follow American news and politics more than their own news and politics in Norway. So this guy having Trump dresser syndrome isn't actually strange to me, because every Norwegian I know loves America. Everyone in Norway are so into America that they're all like, yeah, so they really felt like they lost the election with Trump, Norway is much more left-leaning than America, just in general, which means that everyone in Norway that loves America loves Democrats, right? They're all Democrat vote. If they could vote, Norway would vote for Democrats, obviously. So, yeah, they're basically like a blue state, yeah. Norway, in their own mind, they're a blue state of America, and that's why they get Trump syndrome. But anyway, guys, if you like the video, subscribe, slap button, have a great day.